Good evening and welcome to another session from RUL Ministries with Micaiah. I'm your host this evening. My name is Micaiah, for all those who do not know me. And I'm the author of Rediscovering Unchanging Love. That's what RUL stands for, Rediscovering Unchanging Love. This is part 1, and Rediscovering Unchanging Love, part 2, for those who do not know me. I want to thank you all for watching. For those who have been watching so far, these studies, truly revolutionary and true unprecedented. As I said, we're going deeper and deeper in our studies. So if you have been following so far, your efforts will be greatly rewarded because you are looking at the light that we have received through a better spectrum, through a better prism, so we can actually see what the light is actually made out of. Okay, just like, remember those physicists? They shine a beam of light through a prism, and then the actual beam is dilated, if you want to go that way, so you can see all the aspects, um, all the shades and all the colors that make up, we call it the rainbow. So this is what we're doing here. We are actually breaking down God's word. We are taking it, we dissecting it, and we're taking the microscope, even the electron microscope, and we're seeing down deep to see what is actually in it. And that's what Jesus meant by searching. Search the scriptures, because in them you will find eternal life. You will find that. You have to search deep, 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 like a true scientist. Okay, because that's what science, true science is God's word. That is the true science, and that's what I'm trying to teach you here. So we're not reinventing the Bible. We're not reinterpreting the Bible. We're not rewriting the Bible. We're just, like I said, we're looking at it through a better spectrum of light. And this is what we hope to find, digging deep, and the rewards will be limitless. Okay, because those who do not find secrets, I shouldn't say secrets, but mysteries, hidden mysteries in the Bible, or things that haven't been cleared before, that means they're not persevering in their studies, because God's word is like a well that has unlimited amount of water for all those who are thirsty to drink. So let's keep going. We are in session number 16, and we're going to talk about a very, I want to say, disputed controversy. Okay, it's a controversial study between prophet Micaiah, if you remember him, and Ahab. Okay, it is described in the 1 Kings 22, and pay attention, because again, we're going deep, and we're not trying to undermine anyone's foundation of belief, but help you see better. Let our eyes be clean, so that the light that shines through us fill us with light, so we can be full of light. Okay, so God help us this evening to discover the mysteries hidden in this study. Okay, so we call this, I decided to call this the case of the prophet Micaiah and King Ahab. So I don't know about you, but I've always liked a good challenge all my life. I love a good challenge. If it weren't for the good challenges we face every day, life would be very, very boring. And I have to admit that the Bible satisfied that craving for me, which made me fall in love with it to the point where sometimes I cannot even put it down. Seriously. If I find something that does not make sense and has to make perfect sense, then I will not stop digging into it until the water is perfectly clear. And I have to admit that the case that I'm about to discuss is a very challenging one. So pay attention, because what you're going to find today is going to be shocking. Okay? And I don't mean to undermine everyone's foundation of belief, but to help make sense through a different opinion. I hope you're ready, and with God's help, we can discover the freedom that is the byproduct of pure and undefiled truth. Remember John 8:32, when Jesus says, the truth shall make you free. Okay? The truth shall make you free. So the only freedom is found, is only in God's word, in Jesus. So this challenge is found in 1 Kings 22 and 2 Chronicles 18. In these chapters, King Ahab and King Jehoshaphat meet with Prophet Micaiah. And I will be referring only my verses from 1 Kings 22 because both chapters are almost identical. So that's 1 Kings 22 and 2 Chronicles 18. So we're gonna stay with 1 Kings 22. So King Jehoshaphat paid a visit to King Ahab because they were related through the marriage of their children. Okay. On the basis of religion, they had something in common, even though King Ahab used to be an idolater before. It is possible that King Jehoshaphat was trying to help King Ahab to be more established in his new religion, which he had just freshly adopted. In order to impress King Jehoshaphat with his new faith, King Ahab tried to make him believe that it was the Lord's will that a city from Gilead called Ramoth should be taken back from the hands of the king of Syria. Okay, he wanted to impress King Jehoshaphat, and trying to make him think that he has a very close connection with God. This is what God is telling him through his prophets. So if the reader is familiar with the context, 3 years before this account, okay, King Ahab made the mistake of making a covenant with Ben-Hadad, king of Syria, and let him go when he should have killed him. Okay, if you remember that, 1 Kings 20:34, and we should read that. 1 Kings 20:34. And it says, "And Ben-Hadad said unto him, The cities which my father took from thy father I will restore, and thou shalt make streets for thee in Damascus, as my father made in Samaria. Then said Ahab, I will send thee away with this covenant. So he made a covenant with him and sent him away." Big mistake when the Lord told him to kill Ben-Hadad. So God was displeased with what King Ahab did and told him that he was going to answer with his life for the life of King Ben-Hadad. If you remember that, same chapter, 1 Kings 20:42. And this is what the Lord tells him. "And he said unto him, Thus saith the Lord, because thou hast let go out of thy hand a man whom I appointed to utter destruction, therefore thy life shall go for his life, and thy people for his people." Amazing prophecy. Amazing prophecy. So that's why starting a battle again with King Ben-Hadad, who would have been a violation of that covenant and a great sin against God, in whose name the covenant was made. So if you swear in the name of the Lord that you will let him go, that means you let him go forever. You never touch him again. Just like, remember Joshua? We will talk about that, of course. So therefore, asking God on this matter was a provocation. It is possible that King Jehoshaphat might not have known anything about that covenant. Okay? Just to talk about Joshua, Joshua made a covenant with the Gibeonites that he was not going to kill him. And that remained throughout the rest of their lives. Even Saul, who tried to kill the Gibeonites, paid for that dearly because the covenant was still valid. Okay, so the same thing with King Ahab. So King Ahab gathered about 400 prophets to ask the Lord's counsel at the request of King Jehoshaphat. The prophets assured him that this military campaign was in accordance with God's will, But King Jehoshaphat was not fully convinced. He asked for another prophet. He probably noticed that these prophets were not fully consecrated to the Lord. King Ahab responded that there was another prophet, but he did not consider him a good prophet because he does not prophesy good concerning him. That is in 1 Kings 22, verse 8. He actually hated him for it. Nevertheless, the prophet is called to give his own testimony, and this is where it gets interesting. Okay, so please pay attention from now on. When Micaiah was asked whether to go against Ramoth Gilead, the prophet answered exactly the same thing that the false prophets said to King Ahab. Okay? This is actually a little strange because Micaiah swore to the messenger who was sent to him that he would speak only what the Lord said unto him. And this was in verse 14, if you remember that. And Micaiah said, "As the Lord liveth, what the Lord says unto me, that will I speak." Okay, that's what he told the messenger. All right, so he swears by in the name of the Lord that he was going to tell the truth. Okay. And this is what Micaiah tells him. So he came to king he came to the king, and the king said unto him, "Micaiah, shall we go against Ramoth Gilead to battle, or shall we forbear?" And he answered him, "Go and prosper, for the Lord shall deliver it into the hand of the king." Excuse me. So he swears he's going to do what the Lord tells him. Now he lies to King Ahab. So I'm sure that Micaiah thought, because of the decision seen and heard by him in the vision, which will come to that King Ahab was already rejected by God. Okay? He probably felt justified to lie to a man who was rejected by God. Okay, because he sees, and let's read verse 17 is where the vision is. And he said, "I saw all Israel scattered upon the hills as sheep that have not a shepherd. And the Lord said, These have no master. Let them return every man to his house in peace." So this was like a decree for the death of Ahab. Like God was prophesying the death of King Ahab. And because of that, okay, because of what Micaiah saw in the vision, okay, he felt that since Ahab was rejected by God, he felt justified to lie to a man that was already rejected by God. So Prophet Elisha did exactly the same thing in a similar case. Okay, he told Hazael, okay, to lie to King Ben-Hadad that he was going to recover from his disease, when the Lord showed him that he was going to die. And this is in 2 Kings chapter 8, from 7 to 10. 1 Kings chapter 8, from 7 to 10. So this is about Prophet Elisha, who lies to Ben-Hadad. Okay, 2 Kings 8, from 7 to 10. Oh, I'm in the wrong chapter. And Elisha came to Damascus, and Ben-Hadad, the king of Syria, was sick. And it was told him, saying, "The man of God is come hither." And the king said unto Hazael, "Take a present in thy hand, and go meet the man of God, and inquire of the Lord by him, saying, Shall I recover of this disease?" So Hazael went to meet him, and took a present with him, even of every good thing of Damascus, 40 camels burden, and came and stood before him, and said, "Thy son Ben-Hadad, king of Syria, hath sent me to thee, saying, Shall I recover of this disease? And Elisha said unto him, Go, say unto him, Thou mayest certainly recover. Howbeit the Lord hath shown me that he shall surely die." Wow. So he lied to King Ben-Hadad. Okay, he probably felt justified, since he was rejected, that he could lie to him. And Micaiah does the same thing to King Ahab. but he swore it in the name of the Lord. And that's where the difference comes in. He swore that he will tell only and only the words of the Lord. Okay. We're going back to 1 Kings 22. All right. So, however, Micaiah swore in the name of the Lord that he was going to tell the truth. He started off with a mistake, and that provoked King Ahab to doubt his integrity. In verse 16, King Ahab made Micaiah swear in the name of the Lord because he was not consistent as a prophet. All right? He changed. He made him swear this time. All right? And we can read that in verse 16. It says, and the king said unto him, how many times shall I adjure thee that thou tell me nothing but that which is true in the name of the Lord? Okay? So he sees that he's changing. So King Ahab is doubting his integrity. So what follows after this is very interesting, and it requires a maximum attention. Okay? So Micaiah saw a vision in verse 17, which we just read, which implied the death of King Ahab. So this was the first vision that he saw in verse 17. There's another vision that he saw, and this is from 19 to 22, probably before he was called to give his testimony. And we will read this. So from 1 Kings 22, from verse 19 to 22. Okay? And this is what he says. And he said, hear thou therefore the word of the Lord. I saw the Lord sitting on his throne, and all the host of heaven standing by him on his right hand and on his left. And the Lord said, who shall persuade Ahab that he may go up and fall at Ramoth Gilead? And one said on this manner, and another said on that manner. And there came forth a spirit, and stood before the Lord, and said, I will persuade him. And the Lord said unto him, wherewith? And he said, I will go forth, and I will be a lying spirit in the mouth of all his prophets. And he said, thou shalt persuade him, and prevail also. Go forth and do so. All right, so this is the second vision. The first vision is verse 17, when he sees the people scattered, okay, with no master, with no shepherd. And this is the second vision. There's two separate visions. So the second vision needs to be carefully studied because it contains some serious discrepancies. I mean it. We'll see right away. So first, the Lord asked the heavenly host to come up with a persuasive plan to make King Ahab go against Ramoth Gilead and die there. The Lord asked for an angel to come up with a plan to deceive Ahab to go to Ramoth Gilead so that Ahab could die there. Okay? The Lord wanted to deceive King Ahab to act against his own word. In other words, to make him sin. So the Lord is tempting, all right, Ahab through a spirit which will go to his prophets to make him go against the covenant that he already made. All right, so the Lord is actually tempting. All right, he's pushing Ahab to sin against his own word. So this can be seen in the Lord's reaction when the third spirit laid out his deceitful plan to become a lying spirit. Now, how can the Lord ask for such a plan? And why can't he come up with the master plan? All right, isn't that how the Lord always does it? He comes up with the plan, and then he sends his angels or messengers to fulfill it. This time, it looks like he needs help. Really. All right. So you mean to tell me that the Lord is in a dilemma? Also, according to the vision, he seemed to be surrounded by deceiving spirits. Yeah. In verse 20, we see two spirits counseling the omniscient God, each one with his own deceitful plan. All right? I didn't know that's what's going on in heaven. I didn't think, too much deceit going on in heaven according to this. So it is obvious that their plans were not what the Lord was expecting until the third spirit presented his deceitful plan. What if none of these spirits would have come up with a plan good enough to deceive King Ahab? God probably would have been faced with a big dilemma here. Probably King Ahab would not have died and would have lived longer. That's why I believe that the first vision presented by Micaiah was from God, verse 17, but not the second. Okay? It could not have been. The prophet was probably angry with King Ahab for hating him and wanted to get even. Satan knew that, saw the opportunity, and acted promptly. Okay? He showed Micaiah a vision where he himself, okay, Satan himself, acted like God on his throne so that he could deceive Micaiah into believing it, and he was allowed to do so because Micaiah wanted revenge. Also, like the rest of the prophets in the Old Testament, in Israel, I shouldn't say Old Testament, but in Israel, before the Assyrian captivity, there's no evidence that those prophets went to the temple, okay, in Jerusalem. And this was in Judah, all right? This was in the southern kingdom. And it was mandatory for everyone, okay? It doesn't matter if you were a prophet, priest, you were a nobody. If you were a Jew, a circumcised Jew, you had to go to the temple at least three times a year. Okay, so these prophets, we have no evidence that anyone went there, and that was mandatory, that was law. Okay, that was required of everybody to do that, and also to bring a sacrifice for your own sins. Okay, so no wonder these prophets fall to such extremes. And that's when Satan sees opportunities and wants to come in and take over, very subtly. Okay? And now Micaiah also hates King Ahab back and he wants revenge. This can be clearly seen when Zedekiah, the son of Kenana, went near and smote Micaiah on the cheek and said, "Which way went the Spirit of the Lord from me to speak unto thee?" And Micaiah said, "Behold, thou shalt see in that day when thou shalt go into an inner chamber to hide thyself." This is verse 24 and 25. We do not have any biblical evidence that this prophecy was fulfilled. Besides, we see Prophet Micaiah being very angry with Zedekiah for smiting him on the cheek for no good reason. All right? Zedekiah smote him on the cheek for being envious and also to win King Ahab's favor. Zedekiah's reputation was at stake, and that's why it looks like Micaiah wanted to get even somehow. Jesus was also struck on the cheek, remember, by an officer for defending his case before the high priest, but did not answer with avenging words. If you remember that in John 18, 22 and 23. John 18, 22 and 23. And I will go read that right now. John 18, 22 and 23. And this is what it says. And when he had thus spoken, one of the officers which stood by struck Jesus with the palm of his hand, saying, "Answerest thou the high priest so?" Jesus answered him, "If I have spoken evil, bear witness of the evil. But if well, why smitest thou me?" Okay? He has the right to do that. Sure, why are you hitting me? What did I do? But that's not how Micaiah answers Zedekiah. So based on all this evidence, we can safely conclude that Micaiah's first vision was from God, but not the second. Okay? Now, there's a similar account in the case of Joseph. You remember Joseph from the son of Jacob? Joseph had two visions. All right? In the first vision, the sheaves of his brethren made obeisance to his sheaf. All right? Let's read that. That way you can get a clear understanding of what I'm trying to say. All right, so we're going back to Genesis 37. Genesis 37. And we're going to read from 1 to 11. This is very important, so please bear with me. And Jacob dwelt in the land wherein his father was a stranger in the land of Canaan. These are the generations of Jacob. Joseph, being 17 years old, was feeding the flock with his brethren, and the lad was with the sons of Bilhah and with the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives. And Joseph brought unto his father their evil report. Now Israel loved Joseph more than all his children, because he was the son of his old age, and he made him a coat of many colors. And when his brethren saw that their father loved him more than all his brethren, they hated him and could not speak peaceably unto him. And Joseph dreamed a dream, and he told it his brethren, and they hated him yet the more. And he said unto them, Hear, I pray you, this dream which I have dreamed. For behold, we were binding sheaves in the field, and lo, my sheaf arose, and also stood upright. And behold, your sheaves stood round about, and made obeisance to my sheaf. And his brethren said to him, Shalt thou indeed reign over us? Or shalt thou indeed have dominion over us? And they hated him yet the more for his dreams and for his words. And he dreamed yet another dream, and told it his brethren, and said, Behold, I have dreamed a dream more, and behold, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars made obeisance to me. And he told it to his father and to his brethren. And his father rebuked him, and said unto him, What is this dream that thou hast dreamt? Shall I and thy mother and thy brethren indeed come to bow down ourselves to thee, to the earth? And his brethren envied him, but his father observed the saying. Okay? So 2 dreams, okay? One with the sheaves, and one with the stars, the moon, and the sun. All right? So in the first vision, the sheaves of his brethren made obeisance to his sheaf. That's verse 7. In the second vision, the sun, the moon, and the 11 stars made obeisance to him. That's in verse 9. We know that the first vision was fulfilled 3 times. All right, and this is what we'll prove. Genesis 42 from 6 to 9. Genesis 42 from 6 to 9. And Joseph was the governor over the land, and he it was that sold to all the people of the land. And Joseph's brethren came and bowed down themselves before him with their faces to the earth. And Joseph saw his brethren, and he knew them, but made himself strange unto them, and spake roughly unto them. And he said unto them, Whence come ye? And they said, From the land of Canaan to buy food. And Joseph knew his brethren, but they knew him not. And Joseph remembered the dreams which he dreamed of them, and said unto them, Ye are spies, to see the nakedness of the land, ye are come. All right, so they bowed down before him. That's one time. Again, they bowed down before him in chapter 43, 26. 43, 26. And when Joseph came home, they brought him the present which was in their hand into the house, and bowed themselves to him to the earth. Okay, these are the brothers again. And one more time in chapter 50, 18. So Genesis 50, 18. And his brethren also went and fell down before his face, and they said, Behold, we be thy servants. Yeah. So the first dream with the sheaves was fulfilled 3 times. But the second, with the sun, the moon, and the stars, never happened. Think about it. His father and his mother never came to bow down before him. All right? Even Jacob understood that. He said, "What? Me? You want me, your mother, and your brethren to come bow down before you?" No, never happened. Okay, so the parents never bowed down before Joseph. So the second dream was inspired by the pride of the first dream, and also from the fact that his father favored him above all his brothers. He was too young, and his pride knew no limits. Also, his brothers started hating him after he told them the first dream. Okay? Maybe Joseph wanted to get even with them, okay, in his mind, in his heart. In verse 2, there is evidence that Joseph was a little spoiled because he said, it says over there, he brought unto his father that evil report. Okay? So this is also why his brothers hated him, and this helped inspire the second dream. All right? He was telling on his brothers. So according to the Bible, since the second dream was not fulfilled entirely, it was not inspired by the Lord. All right? And this we know from Deuteronomy 18:22. All right? If a dream, if somebody has a vision and somebody prophesies something and that thing is not fulfilled, then for sure that is not from the Lord. So we have evidence that Micaiah's second vision and Joseph's second vision were not fulfilled. Therefore, they were not from the Lord. I hope you enjoyed it. And this shows us how careful we should be when we walk with the Lord. I know you're a little surprised about that because just like you, I was told the same thing, that the second vision, Micaiah's second vision, was from the Lord. But if you study it, openly, you realize that something is wrong there. Too much deceit going on. I can't believe that the Lord is surrounded by demons. Okay, he's counseling with demons. That is not the case. The only one surrounded by demons is the devil. And that's the hint that you're supposed to see and act promptly. Okay? So there's evidence from Joseph that you can have a vision and not be from the Lord, even though you are a man of God. Because they were required by the law to take care of their spirit also by attending the temple in Jerusalem at least three times a year, if not more, but at least three times. That's part of the problem, of course. So I hope you enjoyed it. Again, I'm not trying to undermine anybody's belief, nobody's foundation. I'm not trying to scare anybody away, but to wake people up because of what's coming. So if you enjoyed it, please share it with others. Tell others about it if you want. I cannot do this work by myself. And next week, I will present, Lord willing, of course, I'll be presenting the teaching of all teachings, the climax of all the Bible study for this present time, the present truth that you need to know right now. So try to attend, try to listen to it if you can, if you want, if you enjoyed them so far, because next week's teaching is going to be the most shocking truth you've ever heard. And it is straight out of the Bible. Straight out of the Bible. And it is true that it concerns you and me, concerns all of us. It's a truth that is required of us to believe, to understand. It's not going to be easy, but it's not meant to be easy. Okay, the Bible was not meant to be easy. It's meant to be studied. Okay, just like school. Remember school years? Were they easy? No. I went to college also, and I tell you, it wasn't easy. It was challenging, and that's what I loved about it. So make an effort if you can to listen to that to next week's session. Again, the climax of all the teachings, the mother of all teachings for today. Okay, for today. Each period in time, in church time, it's designed for special guidance. Okay, and for this present time that we're in right now, there is a special message that we need to understand to be able to continue further. It's like signs on the road. You have a sign, you meet a sign, it leads you one direction, and you keep going according to that sign, and you keep going, and then you reach another sign, and then you change direction, and so on. And that's what it's supposed to do. So we're going to present the sign that has been disobeyed, totally disobeyed, neglected, totally. You never heard of this, just like these sessions that we've been going through because of complacency, total neglect, and total avoidance. So, for your own good, I will see you next week. Until then, God bless you, and have a good night.